Diamond Sutra recited. And Harada Rashi has related the case of a young girl student of his who got Kensho during his introductory lectures the very moment he drew a circle and declared the cosmos to be indivisibly one. But most have to do Zazen tirelessly to win enlightenment. Now don't feel anxious about awakening. For such anxiety can be a real hindrance. When you enter the world of enlightenment you take with you, so to speak, the results of all your efforts, and this determines the quality of it. Accordingly, your Kensho will be wider and deeper by reason of the Zazen you have done. In most cases a Kensho quickly attained is shallow. Do Zazen with zeal and self-realization will take care of itself. Another time he instructed me. Zen Buddhism is based on the highest teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, in India. The very birthplace of the Buddha. It has practically ceased to exist. And as far as we know it is virtually extinct in China, where it was brought from India by Bodhidharma. Only in Japan does it still live, though it's declining steadily. Today there are probably no more than 10 true masters in all Japan. This unique teaching must not be lost. It must be transmitted to the West. Great minds in the United States and Europe have interested themselves in Buddhism because it appeals not only to the heart but to the intellect as well. Buddhism is an eminently rational religion. Zen, you know from your own experience, is not easy. But its rewards are in proportion to its difficulties. Remember, Bodhidharma had to suffer hardship after hardship. And both Isai and Dogen, who brought Zen to Japan from China, had to overcome countless obstacles. Everything valuable has a high price. It is your destiny to carry Zen to the West. Don't quail or quit in spite of the pain and hardships. July 27, 1958. August 1st is my D-Day. The start of a one-week summer sesshin. My 20th with Yasutani Rashi, sat 2 sesshin this month. One at Yasutani Rashi's temple and one at Ryatakuji, besides day and night zazen in my own room, all in preparation for this big push. My mind has a rare clarity and incisiveness. I will break through. For the first time I'm truly convinced I can. August 1st, 1958. Sessions underway. Quickly my concentration became strongly pitched, boring into mu, thinking only mu, breathing mu. August 3rd, 1958. First 2 days passed quickly, uneventfully. August 4th, 1958. Reached a white heat today. Monitors whacked me time and again. Their energetic stick wielding is no longer an annoyance but a spur. Race to the lineup with each clang of the Dakyuzen bell to be first to see the Rashi, hardly aware of pain in legs, was so eager to confront him that once or twice charged into his Dakyuzen room without waiting for his signal. When he asked me to show him mu, I spontaneously seized his fan, fanned myself, picked up his handbell, rang it, and then left. At next Dakyuzen he again asked for mu. Quickly raised my hand as though to smack him. Didn't intend to really hit him, but the Rashi, taking no chances, ducked. How exhilarating these unpremeditated movements. Clean and free. Animatedly the Rashi warned. You are now facing the last and toughest barrier between you and self-realization. This is the time one feels, in the words of an ancient master, as though he were a mosquito attacking an iron bowl. But you must bore, tirelessly, come what may. Don't let go of mu. Do zazen all night if you feel you may lose mu in your sleep. Mewed silently in temple garden till clock struck 1, rose to exercise stiff, aching legs, staggered into a nearby fence. Suddenly I realized. The fence and I are one formless wood and flesh mu. Of course. Vastly energized by this, pushed on till the 4 a.m. gong. August 5th. 1958. Didn't intend to tell Rashi of my insight, but as soon as I came before him he demanded. What happened last night? While I talked, his keen darting eyes x-rayed every inch of me, then slowly he began quizzing me. Where do you see mu? How do you see mu? When do you see mu? How old is mu? What is the color of mu? What is the sound of mu? How much does mu weigh? Some of my answers came quickly, some haltingly. Once or twice Rashi smiled, but mostly he listened in serene silence, then he spoke. There are some Rashi who might sanction such a tip of the tongue taste as Kensho, but I wouldn't accept sanction of such a picayune experience even if you wanted to grant it. Have I labored like a mountain these 5 years only to bring forth this mouse? I'll go on. Good. I respect your spirit. Threw myself into mu for another 9 hours with such utter absorption that I completely vanished. I didn't eat breakfast, mu did. I didn't sweep and wash the floors after breakfast, mu did. I didn't eat lunch, mu ate. Once or twice ideas of Sutras started to rear their heads, but mu promptly chopped them off. Again and again the monitors whacked me, crying, "Victory is yours if you don't relinquish your hold on mu." Afternoon Dakyuzen. Hawk-like, the Rashi scrutinized me as I entered his room, walked toward him, prostrate myself, and sat before him with my mind alert and exhilarated. "The universe is one," he began, each word tearing into my mind like a bullet. "The moon of truth." All at once the Rashi. The room, every single thing disappeared in a dazzling stream of illumination and I felt myself bathed in a delicious, unspeakable delight. For a fleeting eternity I was alone. I alone was, then the Rashi swam into view. Our eyes met and flowed into each other, and we burst out laughing. "I have it. I know. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. I am everything and everything is nothing." I exclaimed more to myself than to the Rashi, and got up and walked out. At the evening Dakyuzen Rashi again put to me some of the previous questions and added a few new ones. "Where were you born? If you had to die right now, what would you do?" This time my answers obviously pleased him, for he smiled frequently. But I didn't care, for now I knew. "Although your realization is clear," Rashi explained, "you can expand and deepen it infinitely. There are degrees of Kensho. Take two people gazing at a cow, one standing at a distance, the other nearby. The distant one says, 'I know it's a cow, but I'm not sure of its color.' The other says unequivocally, 'I know it's a brown cow.' Henceforth your approach to koans will be different," the Rashi said, and he explained my future mode of practice. Returned to the main hall, as I slipped back into my place grandmother Yamaguchi, our part-time Godo, tiptoed over to me and with eyes aglow whispered, "Wonderful, isn't it? I'm so happy for you." I resumed my zazen, laughing, sobbing, and muttering to myself. It was before me all the time, yet it took me 5 years to see it. A line Tanjin-san had once quoted me rang in my ears. "Sometimes even in the driest hole one can find water." August 9, 1958. Feel free as a fish swimming in an ocean of cool, clear water after being stuck in a tank of glue, and so grateful. Grateful for everything that has happened to me, grateful to everyone who encouraged and sustained me in spite of my immature personality and stubborn nature. But mostly, I am grateful for my human body, for the privilege as a human being to know this joy, like no other. 3. Mr. K. T. A Japanese garden designer, age 32. Although I was born into a family of the Soto Zen sect, I was 28 before I formally started Zazen. What led me to take this step was the fear of death when I began to spit blood after contracting tuberculosis, and uncertainties which had begun to plague me about life itself. I did not experience monastery life, but I did attend sesshin a number of times until I came to self-realization and it was confirmed by the master. During this period I did zazen with a group and took dakyuzen under Taji Rashi every Sunday. How well I remember my first sesshin. It was at a temple called Nipponji in Nakajirayama, Chiba Prefecture, and the master was Harada Rashi. The first day, I recall, I was tense. The second day I could no longer taste the meals. I had much pain in my legs and could make neither head nor tail of the Rashi's taisho. Sometimes I was downright bored. On top of this, the sesshin regulations were strict and the general atmosphere cold and oppressive. Then I began to feel rebellious. Zazen must be a kind of hypnosis. I will find out if the techniques of this religion really lead to truth, I told myself, and dropped the idea of returning home. For 3 days I was obliged to attend the general lectures on Zazen, as they were compulsory for all beginners. Following this I appeared voluntarily before the master for Dakyuzen. Facing him, I felt that I was confronting an iron wall, but I was fascinated by the unique quality of his voice, which sounded very much like my late grandfather's. I went to Dakyuzen several times just to listen to that voice and look at his unusual face. At these times I keenly felt his strong character and personality, his confidence in his own teaching, his dignity, his overwhelming forcefulness. And by comparison I felt insignificant and hollow. If through being deceived I can reach his level of development, I won't mind the deception, I concluded, and decided to sit faithfully as he instructed. The 4th and 5th days passed. The pain in my legs persisted, but my mind had now become more stable, even though I was experiencing visions of one kind and another. Gradually I began to feel enthusiastic about sitting. Came the 6th day. In the anteroom where I was kneeling awaiting my turn to go to Dakyuzen I had a small joyful experience. Just in front of my knees I saw a large post and the leg of a small table overlapping. At that moment I felt the post to be the Rashi and the small leg to be myself. Suddenly this insight came to me. The post as a post is occupying all of heaven and earth, and the leg of the table as the leg of a table is doing the same. The Rashi as Rashi and I fill the entire cosmos. Is there emptiness anywhere? With that I laughed heartily from the bottom of my belly. Briskly entering the Rashi's room at Dakyuzen, I presented him my experience. What is the value of such a blank insight? Don't dream, he said brusquely, and dismissed me. Though it may have been a hallucination, the joy of that moment has never left me. Thereafter whenever I came before the Rashi I wasn't afraid of him. After this first sesshin at Nipponji I attended one sesshin 3 years later at Hosuinji, but I was unsuccessful in attaining enlightenment. One night during the summer of that year while single-mindedly devoting myself to the practice of my koan mu, I experienced a state in which I felt as though I were looking at the vast, utterly transparent sky, and the next moment was able to penetrate the world of mu with an awareness that was clear and sharp. At once I went to see Taji Rashi and asked him to receive me in Dakyuzen. He confirmed my realization after I had made prompt reply to, "How old is Canon?" Cut the word mu into 3, and other tests. Whereupon he instructed me as follows. There is a tremendous difference between shallow and deep realization. And these different levels are depicted in the 10 ox-herding pictures. Point 26. The depth of your enlightenment is no greater than that shown in the third picture, namely, that of seeing the ox. In other words, you have only caught a glimpse of the realm beyond the manifestation of form. Your kensho is such that you can easily lose sight of it if you become lazy and forego further practice. Furthermore, though you have attained enlightenment you remain the same old you. Nothing has been added, you have become no grander. But if you continue with Zazen, you will reach the point of grasping the ox, that is, the 4th stage. Right now you do not, so to speak, own 27 your realization. Beyond the stage of grasping the ox is the stage of taming it, followed by riding it, which is a state of awareness in which enlightenment and ego are seen as one and the same. Next, the 7th stage, is that of forgetting the ox. The 8th, that of forgetting the ox as well as oneself. The 9th, the grade of grand enlightenment, which penetrates to the very bottom and where one no longer differentiates enlightenment from non-enlightenment. The last, the 10th, is the stage in which, having completely finished one's practice, one moves, as oneself, among ordinary people, helping them wherever possible, free from all attachment to enlightenment. To live in this last stage is the aim of life, and its accomplishment may require many cycles of existence. You have now set foot on the path leading to this goal, and for this you should be grateful. Before receiving instructions from my first teacher, I did Zazen in my own way. Picking up the first koan in Hikigen Roku, I reflected on the question of the emperor. What is the highest truth of the holy doctrine? And then Bodhidharma's answer. Kakunan Musho, boundless expanse, and nothing that can be called holy. 28. But I couldn't understand this. Still. Reminding myself of a Japanese proverb. If you read a book 100 times you are bound to come to understand it, I sat down to Zazen, devotedly reciting in my mind Bodhidharma's answer, Kakunan Musho. After 2 days of this I experienced the same state I mentioned earlier, of looking at a vast clear sky. This, I now feel, helped bring about my later realization. The following incident is also worth mentioning in this connection. As a Japanese-style fencing champion in my school days, I competed against 5 students in the intercollegiate matches. The first 3 were comparatively weak and I tried to beat them by figuring out techniques in advance, but was defeated by all 3. When I faced my 4th opponent I was overwhelmed by a feeling of responsibility to uphold the reputation of my school, as well as bitterness at having been defeated 3 times. I was desperate. Without thinking, I instinctively leapt at my adversary and then returned to my place not knowing whether I had won or lost. Later I was told by a friend that I had achieved a splendid victory. My 5th opponent, who was by far the strongest, I defeated in the same way. In these 2 contests I experienced moments which I call the naked expression of enlightenment, in which I acted in response to my